creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
They vote only to massacre the Knights Templars and the Knights Hospitallers. So the Knights Templars and Hospitallers were monastic orders that went into combat and had vows of chastity and poverty, and they were like the richest rapists the world has ever seen. What? They just plundered, raped, murdered everywhere they went. They had a big cross on their chest just to make sure you knew they were a Christian as they were killing you, raping you, and stealing your stuff. And so they voted, okay, we're going to get rid of those guys. We'll let the whole rest of the army go. So Saladin goes, fine.
I thought they were just getting rich.
As much as I hate to break it to you, that's the Pope kissing the Moor's feet. This is supposedly Leah from the Bible, which the Bible, if you couldn't get on board with the Bible, I'm about to tell you why. This is more like what Leah looked like. They were obsessed with mixed girls. This is how sex trafficking began. She was auctioned off in South Carolina at an auction. They legit auctioned her off to her husband. ICE is located in Tel Aviv because Israel is people. It's going to make a lot more sense now. This is not Jeff Epstein. Who knows what his name really is, but that's an Israeli defense sweatshirt, fools. He doesn't have
It does look like Epstein.
documents to go to prison. This is ICE in Tel Aviv where we live. The Moors came up with this idea to make us think that we were slaves, black people. We are owned by gay men.
We owned by gay men? Am I hearing this right?
I don't think so.
This is the secret technology hidden under the Kefren Pyramid and should never have been discovered. In the 1990s, a team of archaeologists found something extraordinary under the Kefren Pyramid. 4 giant chambers, each with a huge pillar made of an unknown metal alloy. The pillars emitted an energetic hum as if they were ancient batteries. After weeks of research, the team managed to figure out how to recharge the pillars, a low frequency that seemed to synchronize with the Earth itself. The hieroglyphs on the walls describe the pillars as part of a defense mechanism created by an advanced civilization long before any historical record existed. But as the team continued to work, strange things began to happen. The teams failed, the communication devices remained silent, and some researchers claimed to hear whispers in a language that no one could understand one by one. The archaeologists disappeared. The project was classified as top secret, and all the records were buried in 2023. A leaked document revealed the truth. The pillars were not just batteries, they were part of a global defense system designed to protect the Earth from an unknown threat. The last from the principal investigator said, "We have woken up something old, and now he is watching us."
We are living in the last days of Pisces, which means the next one coming is going to be the age of Aquarius. And we are now facing the next 2,150 years when the sun will officially be in the constellation of Aquarius, the water bearer. And so in the New Testament, in the book of Luke 22, the apostles are asking Jesus, now that you're going to die, where are we going to go? And so Jesus answers them in the book of Luke 22:10, where Jesus said unto them, behold, when you enter into the city, there shall a man meet you bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he enters in. It's the house of Aquarius. Aquarius is the water bearer. But we know that this was talking about an astrological sign. Why? Because men never carried water ever. In the ancient world, that was something that a man would never do, is to carry water. That was a woman's job, period. So why did Jesus say, look for the man with the water pitcher? That's an astrological sign.
I'm not allowed to say certain things, but this is how they hide everything. So if you want to understand what you are, where we are, check the link in the profile bio.
Interesting.
So 1776.
The year our Declaration of Independence was signed?
Yeah, it was also the same year that they declared the Age of Light.
That's also when Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati.
But independence from who exactly?
Right, like who was really free. And what about the Statue of Liberty?
Yeah, what's crazy is that the statue is a complete replica of the Luciferian statue.
And there's Freemason symbols all on the base of the statue.
And not to mention, At the base of its feet, shackles are broken. Like that's not enough. I mean, broken from what? Could he have been released from the bottomless pit?
They basically hide our history in plain sight.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Have you noticed that all over the world, these incredible buildings have either been one, destroyed, two, hidden? I mean, we could talk about the mud flows and stuff that's been completely covered underground.
Why is it that we can't replicate any of those buildings today?
So you're telling me when these buildings were made, they only had horses and carriages and they were moving around these cinder blocks like it was nothing? I mean, these buildings were incredible.
We're much further along in the timeline than we've been told.
Oh, 100%. I don't believe for 2 seconds that any of that really applied to our generation or our time. I mean, take, for example, he speaks to Luke, Mark, Matthew. What does he say?
Yes, because he's specifically talking to Matthew in chapter 24, verse 34. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled.
And there's a lot of people that say that he means generation by generations. And he's pretty specific in Mark himself. 9:1, verily I say unto you, that there will be some of them that stand here, which shall not taste of death, till they have seen the kingdom of God come with power.
The reason I believe we are in the little season is because I always thought that we were living in the worst of the worst times. I didn't understand how much worse it could get in tribulation. Then reading the Bible for what it literally is and how Jesus is speaking and talking about that time, it makes way more sense that we would be in the little season of deception.
No, I totally, completely agree with you. And what's even crazier is that in Daniel 7:25, he literally says he will be given power to change times and laws. I think the biggest deception that the devil has ever made was that he hid the millennial kingdom from us. They hid everything in plain sight.
The secret societies, that's the big secret, is that the millennial reign already happened.
There's these signs everywhere. Our world is filled with Masonic symbols. But in the end, heaven wins. Oh, by the way, Jesus hasn't come yet.
Did you know that Armenia was the first nation to follow Jesus? This is mind-blowing. In 301 AD, Armenia's king, touched by faith, declared that Christianity was the state religion. Guided by a preacher, the nation swapped pagan idols for the cross. Churches rose, faith took root, and Armenia became the Christian beacon in a world of false gods and idolatry. Its laws and culture still carry Christ's teachings today. But what's wild is how they kept faith through brutal trials. Romans hunted them, yet they prayed. A 1915 genocide killed millions, but churches stood strong. Soviet rulers tried to crush their spirit, but believers worshiped in secret. And now over 90% of Armenians still follow Jesus today, with schools teaching the Bible and their laws showing the mercy of Christ. Despite poverty and border rights, their faith still burns bright today. If Armenia's story fires you up, type amen in the comments.
Amen.
In the 1850s, just after the last reset, there began a massive push to reintroduce technology, culture, and even people to the world. World's fairs had these massive exhibits called live infant incubators. These exhibits were insanely popular, drawing millions of visitors. They even had nurses in uniforms acting like caretakers. The babies weren't premature. They were being artificially gestated. This wasn't just a medical breakthrough. This was unfathomably advanced technology. Artificial wombs, mass baby production. Sounds a whole lot like a new world being repopulated after something big went down.
I've seen
Cabbage Patch Kids.
in multiple people shapeshift into reptilians, not just one.
Pause. You've seen people shape shift
Yes.
into reptilians. Are you seeing this physically happen in the physical realm, or is this something you're seeing spiritually
In the
happen?
physical realm.
Like literally their body has shape shifted into something that was non-human.
So there's a couple scenarios, like the one lady who hissed at me in the movie theater. It wasn't like her whole body turned into a reptile, but her eyes and her tongue turned into a reptile, like her face turned into a reptile. It's usually just the face that you see. And the other two, one guy had seen shape shift in person a couple of times. Like it was actually like crazy to see his head even sort of like change shape. And he actually posted a video on Instagram. You could see
What?
the eyes change and the mouth and everything, and the head change shape. And I took a screenshot of it, and he took the video down. And there's another girl that exact same thing happened to, where they shape shifted on video. I took a screenshot of it, and they took it down.
You have a screenshot of this?
Yeah, I have.
Oh,
I have it on my
check
phone.
that out
I have them
afterwards.
on my phone. Yes.
Okay, where is it? I think this is what the lady on the plane saw. What do you think?
What is 764?
15-year-old boy started the group. He was the beginning of it. He created something that is the worst thing next to all the other things that we've talked about. 764 group is a Satanist cult group that focuses on extreme violence. One of the main things that they focus on is extortion towards children. The main reason why they do a lot of the things that I'm about to show you is to get the recognition for it. They just want their group out there in any way, whether it's negative or positive. They extort children out of material. They extort children into cutting their wrists, hurting themselves, cutting areas of their body, engraving their names into their chests, their legs, their arms, their faces. They've had children commit live on camera in front of audiences of people while they get cheered on, convince children to kill animals, their pet cats, their pet dogs.
What?
They try to convince them to kill their family members, commit mass bestiality, incest, you name it. A lot of it has already been done. This is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
15-year-old creating this? It's wild.
This rare footage is from 1944. It shows the final moments of Pietro Caruso, an Italian fascist official. He was once known as the Blade of Mussolini for leading harsh crackdowns and mass arrests. During the fascist era, he devised cruel methods meant to humiliate and break those who resisted. To the Italian and Romanian people, he became a symbol of oppression. But as the war turned against fascism, the regime collapsed. Caruso and his aides were trapped inside a government building, while crowds gathered outside, shouting for justice. Years of anger and suffering had finally reached a breaking point. His deputy did not survive the chaos. Caruso himself was captured, injured, and unable to flee. Soon after, he stood trial before the nation. Witnesses and victims' families testified, recounting what they had endured under his command. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Caruso had no defense left. He was found guilty of crimes against humanity. Justice at last began to take its course. On the day of his sentence, Caruso could barely walk. Soldiers helped him step down from the vehicle. He wore a neat blue suit with a white handkerchief in his pocket, the last gesture of dignity allowed to him. He was seated in a chair the same kind once used on his own prisoners. Now it became the place where he faced justice himself. A priest stepped forward, whispering a final prayer. The soldiers stood in silence. No applause, no cheers, only stillness. Caruso's end marked the close of a dark chapter. Violence gave way to justice, and the oppressed finally saw the dawn of their freedom.
This is the most
You rip what you saw.
dangerous book in the Muslim world. It combines Islamic spirituality with magic. The name of this book is Shams al-Ma'arif, and this isn't a storybook. It's a cursed grimoire. The book teaches talismans and spirit work said to subjugate jinn, and people have tried it to sway love, silence rivals, and ruin their enemies. But here's where the book gets dark. The book talks about science of letters, where every Arabic letter carries a number, an angel, a planet, and a day. These letters have cosmic power, and if you align the right names, numbers, and lunar hours, you can change reality. For centuries, this book has been criticized and banned by many Islamic scholars because the book can attract negative spiritual attention. Even today, the book is considered a source of both spiritual wisdom and dangerous magic. Share this reel with your friends who don't believe in dark magic.
Jesus is only who can save you.
If you look at the Romans, go back 2,000 years ago to today, what an insane amount of progress. So if these anatomical human beings existed 200,000 years ago, what if they developed something on a totally different path? Just developed it to this level that we can't possibly comprehend. What if they had 10, 20,000 years to do that? That's likely what we're looking at when we look at the structures in Egypt. If you would imagine that those people had been given enough time, whether it's 20,000, 30,000 years, to evolve these technologies, and then boom, hit by giant rocks from the sky and millions of people are killed. The people that are left live a barbaric existence for thousands of years and then relearn civilization and it starts from scratch. That's what Graham Hancock is talking about.
Imagine, what if the earth was hit so hard that it changed our gravity The reason we cannot build anything close to the pyramids.
The Chinese parade that recently happened.
Oh, the
It was
military parade, yeah.
They had like all these world leaders there. Kim Jong-un came, Vladimir Putin came. Apparently Trump was invited to this thing. Didn't go. And it seems like his feelings were hurt because he tweeted, he's like, hey, Gigi, give my warm regards to Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin because I know you guys are conspiring to defeat the United States of America. And then Russia immediately came out and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, no, we're not.
It's like high school, dude.
But they did catch Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping and they're walking and they're talking about immortality. You know, they're doing the experiments of the older you get, they just swap out organs. And they're like, yeah, we're trying to reach that immortality. And then Gigi's like, we're for sure going to have people around us that are going to live to 150 years old.
This was caught on mic in China?
Yeah.
I would have thought it was fake, but BBC actually posted the transcript.
Yeah, talk about small talk. They were talking about immortality.
Yeah. What if it's literally just a ploy so that Trump's like, I want a new organ? They trick them and they're like,
oh,
boom.
no.
Because of just the high schoolness of it all. Like, oh, you guys are talking about me.
Trump, I heard you needed a liver.
We all have new livers. You should get one. Okay, I will. And he shows up to school with a new liver, and they're like, losers!
The liver from cow.
Just like,
And you think the BBC are trustworthy?
Nobody's showing up at 6 in the morning to see Jorge Goliat for a hangover, headache, or a hangnail. You're there because you're basically you're in a desperate situation and the doctors couldn't help you. Or you don't trust doctors. So here Jorge comes offering hope to the hopeless. In the modern world, people think what Jorge Goliat does is some sort of scam or con. And at best case scenario, they think he's a dangerous man doing dangerous things. Which is why he's keen to let people film him. You can watch for yourself. And if you want, come to Hangar 5 in Havana and have the experience.
Because they like sadness, fear, trauma. The energy is called loosh.
The topic of addictions of the reptilians. Humans have some addictions like alcohol, drugs, sugar. Reptilians have different
are addicted to fear.
Addictions, yeah.
Right.
Addiction to torture,
yes.
to this energy. So
right.
Please explain.
Putting a human being to a low vibrational state by creating a circumstance in their life puts them into a depressive state, would then give off an energy they like, because they like sadness, fear, trauma, and especially tears. So somebody, with their head in their hands crying, the energy is called loosh, and it's very, very high-powered energy. For them, very, very, very. They would somehow calculate an event, even in dream. I mean, I've had dreams where I've been crying in a dream. And I know that the 4D, it's been mixed. So they're addicted to doing that. They're also addicted to the chrome, which is in the blood, which when you bring a human being to the highest state of fear that it can be in, just the most extreme state of fear, a chemical is run through the body. It's not a nice topic, but blood is then got from them at that point. That chemical is inside the blood.
Yes.
So you take that, if that is consumed, the high is the highest high that you can get. So that is sold on the black market. Satanists sell it.
That's why they do those rituals.
Yes, it's one of the reasons. Yeah.
Do you think living in a medieval castle was the life of a king? The reality will shock you. Those huge, luxurious halls you see in movies, they were filled with filth, stinking of rats, and infested with horrible diseases. Bathrooms? Almost non-existent. The so-called garderobe was just a hole dumping everything straight into the mud, and someone actually had the job of cleaning that. Disgusting and dangerous. And don't think only the peasants suffered. Most people lived outside the walls in total misery with nothing. But even inside, nobles faced plagues that wiped out entire families, deadly intrigues, and feasts filled with rotten food. Water? It was basically poison. That's why they only drank wine or beer, even though the alcohol was loaded with bacteria. And if you ended up in the dungeon, forget hope. That meant terror, suffering, and abandonment. Medieval castles weren't fairy tale palaces. They were filthy, dangerous, and terrifying prisons. A world where rats and poverty ruled even among the rich.
We gotta talk about
So, why are the narrative change?
this is a dry river in India, and it revealed these stones. these ancient carvings in the stones. These carvings are called lingams, and in the Hindu tradition, they are very significant to their religious practice. These are in the Shamala River. Probably butchering that name, sorry. The pointy part is the lingam. The base is the yoni. You often see these with snakes around them, and sometimes even with bulls around them. Some of these are absolutely massive, and some are carved out of multi-ton single-piece rocks. When they're inside of temples, you can often find them under these decorative ceilings. But if you find many of them in the wild, they look decapitated. So my man Praveen has done some investigating. Follow him on YouTube if you're not. A recent temple excavation revealed this. Underneath the lingam was specific metals in a specific configuration. They also found these iron spatulas that conveniently never rust. Here is what was underneath that lingam. Inside that pot is rice husk. So Praveen recreated this experiment and used a silver rod and an iron rod in the rice husk in a pot, and it created electric current. Putting a bunch of these together, he could light up an LED. Now, lingams are not exclusive to India. They're found all over the world, but I want to focus on Egypt. India and Egypt were close. Now, these are going to make a lot more sense. If you do a quick search for the Baghdad battery, you'll see this pop up. Egypt used this for electricity. You can find this on the walls at the Dendera temple complex. The word for bull is torus. This comes from the Aramaic word tor. The torus is the shape of energetic flow. The snakes represent vibration, most of the time from the sun. So containing the energy of the sun in a bowl is exactly the concept of a tokamak reactor in our culture. Snake charmers are magicians. They use magnets to magnetically charm the snakes.
You know, so many things are ancient Egyptians and Hindu mythology related.
This might be one of the last cavemen on Earth. His name is Elia, and he lives in a cave on a remote island off the coast of Yemen called Socotra. It's a life most have forgotten, but today we're going to see what it's all about.
Fire.
Where were you born in the cave?
Here.
You were born right there.
Yeah, and one of my brother born in the water. I had 15 kids. 9 die, 6 died.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Not don't care for the life. All my brothers cry for me. I eat dates. I eat everything. And people, your father's died. Yes, died there.
Yeah, he was definitely a bit crazy, but then again, he is a caveman. His home sat right on the sea, surrounded by animal bones and the scents of the ocean. He showed us how he hunted, gathered, and he even played with the sea life around him. At one point in time, this was life for all of us. Simple, repetitive, and maybe even boring, but deeply connected to nature. And I mean, watching Elia, you can't help but wonder if maybe we've lost something along the way.
Bye-bye.
He's richer than most millionaires.
Look at a map of Britain, and the endings of our towns reveal who settled the land. Names ending in ham come from Old English. It meant home or village. Places like Birmingham, Nottingham, and Durham were Anglo-Saxon settlements. Tun comes from the Old English word tun. It meant an enclosed farm or estate. Southampton, Taunton, and Luton started as fortified farms that grew into towns. If you see Chester, Castor, or Cester, that is almost always Roman. It comes from the Latin word castra, meaning a fort. Manchester, Doncaster, Leicester, all began as Roman military sites. Ford marks ancient river crossings, Oxford, Guildford, Hereford. These were strategic trade points long before bridges. Then there are the Viking names. By and Thorpe come from Old Norse. They mean farm or village. Derby, Grimsby, Whitby, Scunthorpe, all in old Viking territory. These endings are not random. They are clues. Each one tells you whether the Romans, the Saxons, or the Vikings built that place. The map of Britain is a record of who came, who conquered, and who stayed.
There's a group of people that say that dragons were real. So around the same time period in China, South America, Africa, Rome, all these places, images depicted people fighting dragons. Every dragon was slightly different, but it was all a giant, scaly animal that could fly. You think about the fact that large birds, they have like hollowish bones. They break down very easily and they don't fossilize. The group that says this, they're saying the evidence is the reason there's no fossils of dragons is because they had bird bones and they were actually very delicate animals. A small population of these giant flying lizards existed and encompassed all these different countries where they all depicted fighting dragons, and they were all killed off by, knights and then didn't fossilize.
In ancient times,
I believe in dragons.
women didn't have access to public restrooms. When nature called, they would simply drop their skirts, squat in a corner, and go. Since homes were often far away, and running back wasn't practical, fashion evolved, creating wide, cone-shaped skirts. That way, if a woman needed to relieve herself while out, she could quietly do it in a hidden spot without being seen. But nobles took things even further. During long royal gatherings, queens refused to leave mid-event. It was considered terribly impolite. So, they had servants hide under their skirts. One maid would hold a chamber pot, another would handle the cleanup, allowing the queen to stay, smile, and never miss a toast. Of course, all that waste eventually had to go somewhere. Servants would toss the contents right out the window, often splashing unlucky passers-by below. That's why women started carrying umbrellas for protection. And because the streets were so filthy and full of waste, aristocrats began wearing tall platform shoes, what we now call high heels, to keep their feet clean and above the mess.
Some countries still haven't evolved from the medieval times.
Signs you may be a target of human trafficking. Number 4, you find money on the ground outside your car. So if you do this, it could be laced with drugs, fentanyl, anything that could render you unconscious.
Yeah.
Don't touch it. Get in your car. Get to safety.
Oh.
Number 3, you find a zip tie on the door handle of your car.
Oh my gosh.
This might seem odd and you might want to like get it off or fix it right away. Don't do it. Same thing. Get in your car, get to safety. If you touch it, it gives a trafficker time to get to you, or it may signal to other traffickers that this is a mark.
Oh my gosh, bro.
Number 2, finding money on the windshield of your car. Similar to outside, you may get in your car and see the money and get back out of your car. Not the thing to do. Stay in your car, even if you see it on there when you've already gotten in. Drive to safety. Safely get it off after.
Yeah.
That's scary.
And then number 1 is being marked with a dot or a smidge of paint or chalk on your car. If you see your car marked with anything like that, just be safe. Get to safety. Drive to the police station. Don't take any chances. If you see any kind of mark, that could mean that you're marked as a vulnerable.
Can we start recruiting snipers at the top of establishments at this point?
Otto Skorzeny. He is the most decorated commando of World War II. He's the one who parachuted at Normandy, turned all the road signs backward. After the war, he was the personal bodyguard for Eva Peron. One time he was in Egypt. 2 Israelis came up to him, and of course he's on the guard because he figures German, Nazi, all that stuff. He says, "Are you here to kill me?" He said, "Oh, no, we're not here to kill you. We want to hire you." They have 6 Egyptian scientists that are about to make a nuclear bomb to drop on Israel. We want you to get rid of those scientists. He says, "Okay, what do I get out of this?" He says, "What do you want? Remember the Nazi hunter, the Jewish guy who caught so many? I want you to get my name off of his hit list, and I'll take out these scientists." Within a week, 6 dead scientists, and Otto Skorzeny's name was off the list.
5.
Kind of lets you know there's a way more to that particular period of time that we've been told.
5 hidden details inside the hell photographs taken by Franz Alessandro von Hohenberg in 1906. The first appears in the Malabolge. One of the devils seems aware of Franz's presence. While the others remain focused on their tasks, this figure looks directly toward the camera, as if it had noticed the explorer entering its domain. The second detail is about the horns. Across the Malabolge images, the devils show different horn shapes and sizes. Some are curved, some are split, others spiral upward. These variations might not be random. They could indicate a hierarchy, a rank, or a function within the demonic order. The third is found inside the city of Dis. The streets appear empty, silent, abandoned. No souls, no damned, no human presence except for a single figure, standing alone among the burning walls. It doesn't match the devils, and it doesn't resemble the damned described by Dante. Its identity remains completely unknown. The fourth detail is hidden inside the panoramic photograph of the infernal pit. If you zoom into the deeper levels, you can already see the massive walls of the city of Dis waiting far below, long before Franz even reaches it. The final detail comes from the 10th Bolgia, the falsifiers. In the original text, they are afflicted by disease, madness, and corruption of the body. In these photographs, however, their punishment looks drastically different. Enormous heads half buried in the ground, swollen and disfigured by tumors. A grotesque variation of the same sin, but far more disturbing than any written description.
How can a human be in hell and take pictures?
We were in a club, in a nightclub, and there were these girls
They couldn't have been more than 13 or 14.
Ugh.
And these men were, they had them at this bar. They were sitting at this table. And these men were keeping an eye on them. It was clear that they couldn't leave. But they were in a club anyone could come in or out of. And we were propositioned to buy them. At that point in time, Lantern wasn't even Lantern yet. It was just the beginning. It was just us working undercover operations, us determining where the need was the greatest, and just starting to train local law enforcement in that area. So that night, we didn't have the aftercare in place, and it was never meant to be at that point. So that night we had to leave the club. We had to leave without them. I remember curling up in a ball on our balcony that night and just not being able to sleep and just crying over these two girls. And we've never stopped looking for them, but we never did find them again. Once we got the position, the aftercare facilities in place and the law enforcement buy-in, we tried to find them and we never could. And that'll haunt me. That'll haunt me forever. I don't know where those girls went that night, and I don't particularly enjoy thinking about it. But that was before Lantern Rescue had its name. But we knew what we wanted to do, and it's grown from there. And now when we do undercover operations, I don't have to leave anyone behind, but I'll never forget.
Wow, you're a guardian angel for humanity.
Lady in Blue, born in 1602. She had these crazy experiences. Some, it gets a little like weird, but what is true is her ability for biolocation, meaning she could be in another place at the same time as like where she was. And
so 2 bodies.
Basically, almost be like astral planing. You're like physically in this area. Sister Maria de Jesus de Agreda, and she was a Spanish Franciscan abbess. She would go to Native American tribes in the U.S., like in Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, and tell them about the gospel. And so when missionaries finally went into the new world of the Americas, right, they were presenting Christ, and they said, we've already heard this. We've already been baptized.
Wow.
From the lady in the blue. She told us, and she told them the tribe name, what the location looked like, and she's thousands of miles away.
It's impossible because she was in
Spain then.
Yeah.
Weird. Cross oceans.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The Germano tribe, they described her as a pale woman wearing a shimmering blue cloak who taught them Christian prayers and urged them to seek baptism.
Wow.
They were not able to disprove that. The church concluded she likely experienced what they would call a genuine mystical phenomena of biolocation.
Fascinating.
This is the first time I've given one of these out. I went down a rabbit hole to find the real black phone, and I found this company called Glacier. Glacier was started by a bunch of former Intel guys. It's a hardened iPhone. They do an overwatch of the phone. No data leaks out. They have all-American VPNs, burner numbers, any area code you want. If you're doing a political donation, booking a hotel, ordering a pizza, talking to somebody you never want to talk to again, you can use one of those burner numbers. They can even tell if Pegasus were to wind up on it or something. They'll be able to know, hey, something's acting funny on your phone. And it has a secure messenger service that actually tunnels your entire organization. And so you can't have like a signal debacle like we saw at the beginning of the administration. It would be impossible to accidentally text Sean the reporter and not Sean the podcaster. We're starting a company with them, and those are extremely expensive. So I said, why don't we do a consumer based and that has a lot of the same features, but maybe not quite that high speed that people can actually afford. So we're rolling that out towards the end of the year.
We think it's going to be a swarming attack, right? Multiple different attacks at one time across multiple cities. We think there will be suicide bombers just because some of the attackers went through suicide bomber training and they have these vests. And then we think there's these Fideian attackers who will carry on until they're killed.
Just rephrase that. So these guys are trained and they are going to fight until they're killed.
Yes. And that matters, right? So I was watching this video and it was a suicide bombing in Kabul years ago. The bomber blew up and then everyone starts moving in. The first responders move in, right? And then another guy walks in and blows up. We know this is a tactic. But if Americans don't understand this is a tactic and don't understand these attackers are going to fight to the death, think about that. Battle's going on. The attacker surrenders. He might have the suicide vest. You know, we let our guard down. That man came to die, right? He's going to fight till he dies or you die. So we can't let our guards down, and they know our weakness. So we have to be very careful that we don't have more people die in these second and third order effects of not knowing their intent.
In the hell is this? I said hell because it looked like something from hell. Look closely, y'all. It looked like bodies on it, right? This don't look like something straight out of Stranger Things. And this is in California, y'all. California, in the desert. This look like the gateway to hell. I think they say this is in Joshua Tree in California. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is a place I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to be nowhere near this junk right here. I rebuke. Now, people that's around that area said they don't know when or how that got there. So my question is, do anybody know when and how that got there? And if an artist took his time to make this and build it over here and install it, you're weird.
The strange behavior of a woman during a press conference in the Oval Office of the White House has gone viral on social media, with many asking, who is she? It's Susan Dell, the wife of billionaire and Dell CEO Michael Dell. The couple recently donated more than $6 billion to fund American children.
Men in Black taught me they're already here.
Right, so I just realised, you know this thing on your neck? Have you got like a big version of it?
Yes.
That's what I'm after. Yeah, I just realised.
Yeah, it's like this big.
Yeah, like a donut. Yeah, like quite big.
Exactly.
Can you just show me where it is? I'll swab around it and we're done. Has it got lots of crystal or something in it?
Yeah.
Nice.
You ever seen one of those?
I've never in my life. What is it?
It's a PEMF therapy device.
What's it used for?
We send frequencies through here.
Yeah.
And they spin around the copper and create a magnetic field the shape of this copper. You put it on the body for therapy, for pain relief and sleep aid, and
that's quite cool.
Thank you.
That's all good. You take care, all right?
This is the IZ by I Pyramids, bringing coherence and calmness wherever we go.
You know what it is? This is the flux capacitor.
Yo, where are we going? No, this is a... Are you f***ing kidding me? You better not take me anywhere I don't want to go.
This
I
is
want to
sad,
go into
folks.
the city. Yo, we're not going into the city, are we? No, we're not. Then where's these roads going to? 50th Street. 50th Street. Are you sure? Absolutely. Yo, where are we going? 50th Street. 50th Street. 50th Street. East, right? East. Over town. Bravo.
So they can't go back into how she got into the right?
Kali is this horrific, scary goddess. If she appears to you and you run from her, she's going to rip you to pieces.
She'll destroy you.
If you turn and face her, she turns into this incredible goddess and gives you every heart's desire. So I couldn't run anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? And I turned and faced her, and that's when my life really began to change. It's about facing your fears.
Yeah. You wrote, being stuck, being attached, looking back on their earthly lives with regret and still feeling unworthy, even in death. Fear of letting go, waiting for things to change rather than take action and change them yourself while you are here on this earth. That is the greatest horror that there is. And if we are not awake, we take that dreadfulness right into the next dimension with us. And that's, I think, wise words for anyone with ears to hear, because what are you waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
This is a great advice, but I'm not facing that. I follow Christ.
One of our more violent, aggressive inmates. He trains against staff members and he trains to fight against inmates, both.
Ronnie Padilla has spent more than 6 years inside Santa Rita Jail's segregation unit. He is one of the jail's most dangerous and unpredictable fighters. Padilla kicks the metal toilet every day, trying to harden his shins for future fights. Deputies say he trains constantly, against walls, against doors, and against anyone who disrespects him as a sure-nosed gang member. Respect is everything to him. If he feels slighted, He lets everyone know instantly. Padilla was originally arrested 7 years ago on multiple firearm assaults. Since then, his violence hasn't stopped. Inside Santa Rita, he stabbed another inmate, nearly killing him. That attack added an attempted murder conviction to his record. Because of this, Padilla has lived 23 hours a day locked in a small segregation cell. The isolation is breaking him down, but the rules of his gang never leave him. He keeps his cell spotless, because sure-nos demand it. Deputies, however, are focused on something else. Padilla is a master at turning anything into a weapon, so they search his cell constantly, especially when he isn't there. Each time, Padilla returns furious, convinced the deputies are out to break him. Despite his exhaustion and years of isolation, he keeps fighting for a chance to return to general population, but the jail sees him as too big of a risk. His appeals continue, but his segregation continues too. For now, Ronnie Padilla's life remains trapped inside a steel box, with nothing but time, anger, and the sound of his own training.
How does... Let him out to fight Jake Paul, please.
Israel recruit spies in Iran. What they did is there are hundreds of thousands of Afghan refugees in Iran. And because they don't have paperwork, they're not entitled to food, aid, welfare, nothing. And they're desperate. Well, those are the guys that the Israelis recruited. We want you to stand on this corner. And every time you see this general drive by, make a note of it and then transmit it back to us. Here's $100. You're cold pitching someone who's so desperate that they'll do anything. These are Iranians who have been recruited by the Israelis overseas, or they are Iranian Jews who emigrated and can be sent back. And then what they end up getting is jobs in these generals' houses as a tea-wala, or sweep the floors, wash the car, whatever, and you get the general's cell phone numbers. They could track it as it's moving around town and fire rockets directly at whoever happens to be holding the cell phone. So the Iranian government then said, as a new policy, no generals and no nuclear scientists can carry cell phones. So you know what the Israelis did? They realized that the Iranians never told the bodyguards that they can't carry cell phones.
There it is, boys. What? This is Hong Kong's most haunted hospital right in front of us. 6,000 a year of abortions were done right here. Dude, this is crazy. Dude, they even lit shrines. And right there is where all the bodies would be operated on. These are old slabs. I've never seen one like this. Only in Europe. Because in the US, ours are a little different. Wow, I'm freaking out. This is awesome. All burnt up. Why were they doing like rituals here? Or offerings? It's hard to say.
If only those walls could talk.
Landmass that fits Plato's description is Antarctica. Plato describes an island the size of Libya and Asia combined.
Mm-hmm.
In the Greek world, in that time, in Plato's time, that was a description for a territory roughly the size of the first Persian Empire. The first Persian Empire is about the size of the continental United States. Well, that's the size of Antarctica. Moreover, Plato said that Atlantis was in the world ocean. But what does that mean, the world ocean? It's where the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Indian Ocean all meet in a single body of water in the shoreline of Antarctica. It was a global civilization. It's a civilization that used those 1,300-ton stones at Baalbek. Global technical civilization. So, first of all, the only landmass that fits the size is Antarctica. Second, it's in the right place. It's in the world ocean. Third, Plato said that when you go to Atlantis, you can come from one side of the world, like South Africa, and cross over Atlantis and you're on the other side of the world. Where else fits that bill than Antarctica?
There is a no-kill order in the mob right now.
What kind of source do you have?
There haven't been any. The last known murder involving a member of the mob by another member of the mob was way back in 1999.
That we know of.
We would know if someone was killed. It would be reported.
No body, no crime.
We know that too, because if you notice, where are all the rats now? They're on YouTube. The mob doesn't even kill them because they've been neutered by the government. They don't have power to do that anymore. They're constantly under scrutiny. Probably the one thing from an organized crime at the FBI level did very well. And this is why the mafia is no longer on the criminal totem pole at the top. They're not killing nobody. It's not happening.
Well, the goal is to make money, not headlines.
If you take the battery out of your phone, I can still listen to you. In the old days when you took the batteries out, you take the batteries out and think you're good and you go in there and skiff and you can talk about whatever you want. Well, I could still listen to you.
Are you serious?
Yeah. We were doing stuff that you could never find what we were doing. Ever. And you never will. And it's in every piece of equipment right now. In every chip right now, there's stuff. And where are we buying all the chips from?
China.
Yeah.
Taiwan.
Yeah. This is the future. I had another one where I could put out a signal, and if anybody records anything, anywhere in the world, I know the exact spot they recorded it.
Man.
I don't know if that's classified because it's so old.
Do you prefer Vanderbilt to the Rockefellers? Look, man, the Vanderbilts had more money than the U.S. Treasury, but they decimated their wealth. Cornelius passes on his money to his eldest son, William Henry. He doubles the estate in 9 years, and then when it was the last time that estate grew. They knew how to spend money, but they didn't really know how to grow it. They had these great Gatsby-level parties, and these oceanfront mansions. They own 10 mansions in Manhattan. Some have been torn down, but they own none of them now. They didn't have trust, which meant he gave this instruction, keep the money together, but no one had to abide by that. Nobody knew how to do that. It wasn't spelled out in any way, and they didn't have insurance to replenish it. For the Rockefellers, they're on their 6th generation wealth, moving to the 7th generation. John D. Rockefeller had a ton of wealth as well, and he's been able to perpetuate it generation to generation because the trust spells out what the intentions are. It's perpetual in nature. And then what happens is each generation gets to utilize money under certain criteria and circumstances. They don't just automatically get it. And that every Rockefeller born gets life insurance on them because they're seen as an asset to the Rockefeller family. And the loss of that asset would be a detriment to the family. So it replenishes the trust.
The Inca didn't just hide gold. They hid the things that mattered most, even from history. When danger approached, treasure vanished into walls, idols disappeared into mountains, and entire shrines were sealed away forever. Coricancha's gold was hidden inside its walls. Pachacamac's idols were carried into mountain caves. Capacocha offerings were buried in summits no Spaniard could reach. If they could hide all of that, imagine what they do to protect an emperor. When the Spanish reached Cusco, they captured several royal mummies, Viracocha, Inca, Topa Inca, and Huayna Capac. Those ancestors were shipped to Lima and then lost. But Pachacuri, the greatest ruler of the Inca world, isn't on a single Spanish list. Not captured, not moved, and not buried. If the Inca hid him before the conquest even arrived, the truth won't be in the chronicles. It will be in the chambers we haven't opened yet. And part 3 is where that trail begins.
Was this before or after they sacrificed babies and defeated enemies to the jaguar god?
This is the Mud Flood, the realm-wide cataclysmic event that buried the previous great civilizations of humanity in meters of mud. We are the inheritors of these ruins, digging up and reusing what we could from the past. But instances like this factory, where you can easily tell with just a little bit of open eyes how much is actually buried underneath that factory. I believe the Mud Flood is a separate yet linked event to the flood of Noah. Many people claim there was only one great flood, and that was the Great Flood of Noah. But I don't believe they had brick buildings back in Noah's days. At least not brick factories anyways. But honestly, who's to say? Our history is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon. Noah's time could have been a lot sooner than they tell us. But I believe this to be a repeating cycle, happening every few hundred years, with the last one happening in the late 1800s, early 1900s, which means the next one could be any time around the corner. And with these crazy weather patterns, crazy sightings of the second sun happening more and more, perhaps we are about ready to see history repeating itself again. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
The Moors were there first.
When the Aztecs went into warfare, they went unarmed. The Aztecs believed it was unethical, it was immoral, it was against the gods to kill in warfare. The Aztec army was a wrestler army. So here's how this worked. So let's say I live in Tenochtitlan, I'm an Aztec, and you are too. The city was a grid. The streets were straight. So it's just a grid city. Inside each block was a single building, and in the middle of the building was a courtyard, and each block had an extended family in it. The blocks were called calpulis. Each calpuli had its own specialization. So there's the calpuli that does seashell jewelry, the calpuli that does jade jewelry, the calpuli that makes obsidian blades, the calpuli that does leather work, the calpuli that does woodwork, right? Each calpuli had its specialization. It's time for war. So we've been called upon, each calpuli is called upon to produce a certain number of warriors. So let's say it's you and me. We're going to be two of the people who are selected by the calpuli. The calpuli elders get together and they picked us. And then a group of other people too. But we need to be paired up. Everybody got paired up. So you and me were paired up. We go, we do our training. It's a bunch of wrestling. We're boys. We've been wrestling our whole lives. The big difference is part of the training is trying to figure out how to disarm a guy with a sword trying to kill you with it. Because think about it, I'm unarmed, but they're not.
So the Arabs conquer Sicily. They're there for 2 centuries. And then a group of really crazy French-speaking Vikings called the Normans end up in Italy. They're there as mercenaries. They're bored. They notice they're the only armed guys in southern Italy. So they take over southern Italy. And then they're like, you know what? I bet the Arabs can't keep Sicily if we attack it. Let's attack it. They attack it. And then they end up the rulers of Sicily. So think of how crazy Sicilian history is. Like Greek colonies that get conquered by the Romans, and then the Germans take it over, the Vandals take it over, then the Arabs take it, and then Vikings take Sicily. Like if you're a Sicilian, like how do you identify? There's no way a genetic test will give you anything but crazy at that point. And so these Normans, like Roger II, for example, fall madly in love with Arab culture.
Did you know? In the Middle Ages, it was actually pretty common for women to kill their husbands. Back then, women had no voice and no rights. They were abused and mistreated by their husbands, and the people around them just ignored it. Before marriage, women belonged to their fathers, and after marriage, they became their husband's property. Most husbands were much older and often violent. The only way a woman could gain freedom was by becoming a widow. But then, a woman named Julia Tofana changed everything. She invented a poison made from arsenic, belladonna, and lead, colorless and tasteless. Just a small amount would make the victim feel sick, and eventually they'd die from symptoms similar to a bad cold. Julia didn't put this poison in a toxic bottle. Instead, she disguised it as a common medicine, St. Nicholas oil, and secretly sold it to women looking to escape. They'd mix it into their husband's food, and the effects were quick. The husbands would feel weak, nauseous, and ultimately die from illness. With no one suspecting poisoning, Julia's business boomed until one customer regretted it and told her husband about the plan. Julia was eventually caught. Although many of her customers defended her, she was sentenced to death. In the 18 years she ran her business, Julia helped around 600 women escape violent marriages. She gave these women hope, but paid the ultimate price for it.
In case you don't feel like watching the whole documentary, here are some morbid facts about Ed Gein. Ed Gein is one of the most disturbing killers in American history, not because of how many people he killed, but because of what police found inside of his farmhouse. Although he was only confirmed to have murdered 2 women, he spent years digging up corpses of women who looked like his mother, whom he was obsessed with, and bringing them home to turn their bodies into art pieces. When investigators entered his home, they found a nightmarish scene straight out of a horror movie. Bowls made from human skulls, chairs upholstered with skin, masks of faces peeled from corpses hung on the walls, a box filled with severed noses, and even lips nailed to a window shade pull cord. He had a belt made of nipples and made corsets and leggings out of human skin, all part of his plan to build a full woman suit so he could wear it and become his dead mother. Ed even admitted he tried to dig up his own mother's corpse, but gave up because she was too heavy. One of his 2 victims, Bernice Warden's body, was found hanging upside down in his shed, gutted like a deer, and police also discovered a human heart in a paper bag near the stove because he wanted to cook it later. Neighbors later reported seeing a strange female figure dancing in the moonlight on his property, most likely Gein wearing one of his skin suits outside. The horror was so extreme that multiple officers who investigated his farmhouse quit the force from trauma, and despite his house being a rotting, corpse-filled disaster, he kept his mother's bedroom pristine and untouched like a shrine. Perhaps the most chilling part of all was that the townspeople thought he was completely harmless. He babysat their kids and did chores while secretly wearing the dead in his spare time. Declared insane rather than executed, he lived quietly in a mental institution doing arts and crafts with paper instead of human body parts. Until his death, when people robbed his grave and stole his headstone as a trophy. Ed Gein's crimes were so grotesque and twisted that he became the direct inspiration for characters like Norman Bates, Leatherface, and Buffalo Bill, forever defining the skin-wearing, mother-obsessed killer in horror.
Imagine being an adult and finding out that your babysitter was Ed Gein.
We're kicking off the biggest conversation in the history of the National Health Service because we can see the scale of the crisis. We're already taking steps to get the NHS back on its feet, but we're also shaping a 10-year plan to make sure the NHS is fit for the future. And I genuinely think, while we could have come in as a government and imposed change, I genuinely think that change is better done with people than to people. And I also think that some of the best ideas we'll get about how the NHS can improve will come from the people on the front line who work in it, and crucially, the patients who use it.
And that is what happens when you marry your brother's daughter, who's 8. Okay, alien. What, a dog? Did Da Vinci know about this though?
Greek fire. Crazy. The secret of Greek fire was shown and revealed by an angel to the great and holy first Christian emperor Constantine, and that the weapon should only be manufactured for Christians and in the imperial city.
Wow. Very cool.
Amazing. Between like 600 AD and 717, 718, the Islamic forces they start trying to take Constantinople. This is the Christian empire. That's like the capital city. They try to land troops in this gulf, and out of nowhere, these bronze structures on the front of these ships began shooting fire, but they say it burns so bright and so hot. Historians say that water could not douse it. It actually made the reaction worse. It sounded like a windstorm. It exploded when it reacted with water. So they could shoot like yards. To this day, people haven't been able to recreate a substance that does exactly what it does.
That's so cool.
It was a secret knowledge. It was only guarded and used by a very select few people. Wow. Each person involved in the siphon and the use of the weapon, they wouldn't teach each person how to do it. They overcame the siege with the use of this weapon. That's what held Islam from taking over Europe.
Yeah, but like, don't mess with them. You can't. And when you see it, it's too late.
That's spicy gyro for sure. It says, oh, Paris. What part of France is this?
Freemasons are satanic according to Christians, yet King James, who commissioned the Bible, was a Freemason. He even wrote a book on demonology, what Christians call witchcraft. So they're believing a book which was written by a Freemason. We live in a scripted reality. The Bible has been altered to match the events playing out today, making it seem like a divine prophecy when it's actually a long-term plan. Revelation, it's not unfolding naturally, it was scripted by those in power. They've been following the plan for generations. So the question is, are you following the script or seeing through the illusion?
I'm following Christ. You ain't becoming billionaire without the approval.
Here's the truth about alcohol that no one is going to tell you. First, you have to realize that the root word of alcohol, alcool, means body-eating spirit in Arabic. Alcohol is ethanol, and before we started drinking it, it was used as an industrial solvent to literally extract the soul essence out of living things. Historically, alcohol has been used to extract the essence out of things like plants, making things like oils. What if I told you that every time you drink alcohol, it is extracting your soul essence and leaving you diluted spiritually? That is what solvents do. Alcohol is diluted poison, and it's been cross-examined and studied to literally damage every internal organ inside of your body. Also found 4 different studies that found a direct correlation between drinking alcohol and dementia and Alzheimer's disease, which means it causes direct brain damage. It also suppresses melatonin production inside your pineal gland, but if you understand the actual function of your pineal gland, that isn't going to be all over the internet. Let me explain. The pineal gland is one of, if not the most spiritually significant pieces inside your body. Not only does it have rods and cones like your two normal eyes, but it actually has hexagonal crystals inside of it that are vibrating. I'm not joking. Yes, you have vibrating crystals in the center of your brain, but this is really important because these crystals are also studied to be piezoelectric, which means they receive energy all around you. You're energetic electric beings, always receiving energy through us, but they don't want you to know that, because when you become spiritually potent, you become unstoppable.
Such a valuable knowledge. Amazing.
Have you ever wondered about the crazy torture methods they used in the medieval times? Well, now you can learn all about them at the Medieval Torture Museum in Hollywood. It is the perfect spooky season activity. It's the largest interactive historical museum in the US with more than 100 unique implements and devices, all based on historical records and artifacts. You'll walk through dark halls filled with instruments once used to punish, confess, and terrify. Each one is more disturbing than the last. Like whatever this is, torture by rats, bugs, snakes, fires, just the worst thing you could possibly think of. It was both disturbing and fascinating at the same time. And it is so crazy to think about this stuff actually used to happen. It is so messed up. I started to think maybe I was born in the right time period and, maybe my 9 to 5 isn't so bad. I also love that the museum is interactive. You can literally step inside some of the setups and see exactly how everything used to work. The whole experience was gruesome, fascinating, and unforgettable. They say those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it, and this place makes sure you definitely don't. If you're looking for something fun and different to do in LA, especially during spooky season, you should definitely go and check out the Medieval Torture Museum on the Hollywood Walk.
We are so darn barbaric. It's crazy.
This practice of switching mothers. You'll have a cult mother, and then they have your regular mom, and then they create this trauma bonding so that you'll bond with anybody that they want you to do. And this happens by taking you away from your mom and your dad constantly and giving you new mom and dad, new uncles, new aunts, right? And so you're living in this constant state of destabilization. And so it's as that destabilization happens and that patterning is built up, that's when a lot of the programming comes in to stabilize these new personalities and these new pursuits and endeavors. But I had this zealousness to see injustice stopped, and they preyed on them.
I hate to break it to you, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a show about reptiles, reptilians, living underground, in underground tunnels. What food do they like the most? Pizza. Pizza is code word for pedophiles. Their connection with April is their connection to the mainstream media, how they influence the masses from behind the scenes. So Shredder, we owe you an apology, fam. These writers just put it in front of our faces for too long.
So what did you do when he...
No wonder Didi made that call to get rid of the pizza boxes. Love his spark and energy.
These spiritual beings, such as Baal and Moloch, which they still do ceremonies for today, such as in Bohemian Grove, there is a giant effigy, stone effigy of an owl. That's the god Moloch. The god Moloch goes all the way back to Rome and Carthage, in which they were offering child sacrifices to this god in exchange for power. And then they will do your bidding, but you end up paying a terrible price for it. You end up losing your soul. And, in fact, the groups that work with these entities invariably end up being destroyed, and that is written right into their symbolism, the symbol of the eagle. The original American bird was not the eagle. Benjamin Franklin wanted to be the phoenix. The phoenix is the symbol of the cabal. Why? Because the cabal must be burned to ashes, seems to be completely destroyed, but it keeps arising and reincarnating from the ashes. It comes back. So part of their religious belief is that in order to get their new world order, they must be publicly exposed. They must die for their beliefs. They will appear to be wiped out. And they actually believe that these extraterrestrial gods that they've been contracting with all these centuries are going to return and they will be glorified. They will return in light bodies, and they will actually now be the rulers of the earth. So this is part of their religious belief.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Ben Franklin want the turkey to be the national bird?
The social workers, CWS, those predators, what's up?
Are you recording me right now?
Yes, I am. You're predators, see? Yeah, my granddaughters. Hey, we have predators here at the house. Child traffickers. Can you tell me what you want? Are you looking for babies to steal?
You need to calm down, man. You know, like set them up properly.
They're running scared. Yep. Free Malika and Zaya. See? Child traffickers.
So you get nothing, sir. Okay, can somebody please explain this? What happened to the other babies that they took? Like the overall story?
London is not a safe place anymore. Millionaires and billionaires and now ordinary people are leaving London in the masses. People get threatened with machetes. You get stabbed if you wear a nice watch. You get your phone stolen if you walk on the outside of the pavement. You are put in jail for social media posts. There are protests on the street every single week. Mayfair property prices have dropped 50%. Kensington and Chelsea have dropped 40%. ULEZ cameras track and trace your every move, and you are fined everywhere you go. A coffee and a sandwich is now 20 quid, even in cheap places. More and more people are homeless and on drugs. The streets are filthy. The public transport is chaos, and immigration is out of control. And if you decide to stay and fight and work hard and turn things around, you just get taxed on everything you...
I've seen the video London in the 90s. What a place. London was amazing. Very sad to see what happened to London.
The world might actually be run by demons. At almost every major city, there is symbolism for Lucifer. The United Nations headquarters is located at 666 United Nations Plaza, where there is tons of demonic symbolism such as this end times beast. In the Bible, it says 200 fallen angels descended at Mount Hermon, and the UN just happens to have a base there. The craziest part is that at a city called Astana, a city that's been purposely hidden from us, there's a massive pyramid, much like the one on the money that controls our entire world. And inside this pyramid, there's 200 perfectly aligned chairs. It's almost like the 200 angels that fell have a secret base where they make their plans. At this same city, there is another torch that represents Lucifer. This evil symbolism even stretches to CERN, the government research facility, which has a statue of Sheba, the destroyer of worlds outside of it. Obviously, this is all just speculation, and none of it is proven to be true, but this symbolism is real. This has made many people believe.
Who benefits from Charlie Kirk being killed? I also know that whenever I've seen in my whole life, a lone gunman killed RFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. I know that's a lie, so I'm open.
Look, I can tell you that from the moment that Charlie got shot, and I can't explain it, and maybe it's because Charlie would tell me all the time that he was going to die young, and I showed those messages, and I knew it was big. I didn't have the players. I certainly didn't suspect Turning Point USA would be, as I believe, involved in a cover-up. It doesn't necessarily mean they were involved in plotting to kill him, but I do believe that they have betrayed him since, and I am comfortable saying that today because I know that they have told lies. I know that they have withheld information, that if truly you were motivated by goodness and truth, you would come out and you would say it. Like there are people at Turning Point who Charlie texted the night before and said they are going to kill me. If you're trying to figure out who killed Charlie Kirk, wouldn't that be a good thing to come forward with and to the public and say Charlie thought that he was going to be murdered the night before? And they are being very strange about details on that day. And so it's the absence of answering and the blaming and the yelling that feels off to people. And I think that's fair. I think spiritually, people are sensing their intuition is coming online and saying, this just doesn't feel right.
Pentagon is owned by the Farnese family, though.
Oh my God, somebody owns the Pentagon.
Well, if you look at the mansion of the Farneses in Rome, it is Pentagon shape. They wanted that shape for the Pentagon. So,
Which is a pentagram.
yes.
Right? Which is satanic.
It's the Pentagon. A pentagram has spikes. The Pentagon has the spikes.
But you
locked
could fit
up.
a pentagram inside the Pentagon. Like
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good one. Yeah. And that's from the Farneses. The Colonna family, they own stuff like California, New York, the stock exchange. When you look at the Vatican facade, you'll see the names of the families. Just pay attention. Every time you see the Pope photographed, look around in the room. Look around at the plain clothes people. You will see Borghese's, Borgia family. The Borgias are the conquistadors that run all of South America. I would say the Borgias and the Farneses are more South America, where the Jesuits really run amok. They killed Lincoln, and he identified them. He says, those evil Jesuits, they will get me one day.
If you're seeking the real truth, if you want to understand what you are and where we are, this ebook will have answers.
What about Prince?
Man, Prince had it coming. The devil came and collected, period.
Prince had it coming, the devil came and collected. What was he collecting?
His nigga, what he signed? What did they sign over?
The prize is the soul. So, just be careful.
Oh, so you're saying that Prince signed a
I'm not saying anything. I'm telling you facts.
Okay.
I'm not saying. I'm telling you facts.
This guy
I actually believe this man.
in Florida called the police on himself after his daughter, 6 of his grandkids, and then when the police came to arrest him, he took his own life.
As they came?
When they showed up.
Whoa.
Right in front of the
crazy.
police. So this happened in 2014. It was about this dude named Don Spirit. In this moment, 2014, he was living really bad. He lived in a mobile home with his daughter and 6 of his grandkids. One day, randomly, 911 gets a call from this dude, Don Spirit, and he tells them that he killed his daughter, 6 of his grandkids. Mind you, one of his grandkids was only like a couple months old. And then he told them, send the cops over here. When the cops come, I'm going to shoot myself. The police pull up to his house. The police walk up to him. He gets up, grabs the gun, shoots himself in the head.
Whoa.
The police then enter into the mobile home, and
They find all of it.
there's bodies all over the place, bro.
So nobody in the house survived.
No one survived at all. He killed everybody. The 911 call is so
Rest in
crazy,
peace,
bro. I can play for
everybody.
you. You want to hear it?
I look, you do want to hear it, yeah.
Gilchrist County 911, what's the address of the emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I just shot my daughter and shot all my grandkids, and I'll be sitting on my step. And then when you get here, I'm going to shoot myself.
What is the address that you're at, sir?
2550 Northwest, 25 Paris, Don Spirit. Every one of them are dead.
You said your name is Don Spirit?
Yep.
All right, Don, what kind of gun do you have?
It doesn't matter what kind of gun I got. They're all dead, and then when you get here, I'll shoot myself, and then you figure out what kind of gun it is.
Okay, how many people?
6 kids, 1 adult.
6 kids and 1 adult?
Yeah. One of them is a baby.
Jeez.
How long you been here?
This is what happens when you stay awake for 2 weeks straight. This is a rare genetic disorder that prevents a person from ever falling asleep for the rest of their life. It's called fatal familial insomnia, and it's a prion disease where misfolded proteins will accumulate within the part of the brain called the thalamus. And that's crucial because that's the part of the brain that allows you to stay asleep once you get the signal to fall asleep. No amount of sedative or sleep medication will allow the person to fall asleep because the center of the brain that promotes sleep is no longer functioning. The part of the brain that allows you to stay asleep is not working. So you can give it as many signals as you want and it won't do anything. It is a result of a mutation in the PRNP gene, which is autosomal dominant in its inheritance pattern. That basically means there's a 50% chance of passing this on to the next generation if you have that gene mutation. And aside from insomnia, we also see people have autonomic dysfunction where they have rapid heart rate or high blood pressure, for example. Individuals can also have hallucinations and panic attacks. They have cold sweats and rapid cognitive decline during this period of lack of sleep. And eventually they might slip into a coma and never wake up again. The condition is 100% fatal and there is no cure and no treatment for this. Have you ever heard of prion disease? This is one type of that. Comment below and let me know if you know of a different type.
Historians don't want you to know about this evil pirate. During the 1800s, a man named Jed Zeppelin,
also known as Redbeard, ruled the Caribbean seas with his crew. Standing at 6 foot 12 inches tall, he struck fear into most people.
6'12", 7. Oh man.
Even his own crew. It is rumored that he sank over 300 ships during his era and even took the life of the infamous Blackbeard after a long duel. But on February 30th, 1867, Abraham Lincoln sent out the entire Navy to take out Redbeard, which led to a massive battle where over 150 Navy ships were sunk in the process. Eventually, Redbeard's ship began to sink to the bottom of the ocean, taking him with it, never to be seen again. But in the year 1955, an exploration crew found the wreckage of his ship and sent a scuba diving team down to investigate. After a few minutes, they discovered an air pocket in the ship, removed some of their gear, and began walking around. Suddenly, they heard a door swing open and heavy footsteps running toward them. After a few seconds, a very old, tall, and obviously blind pirate appeared from around the corner and said, "Finally, some action."
To be honest, when I got taken the first time by the human trafficking, and I knew, because they told me we have sold you to the highest bidder. This is before I escaped. And they said, once the highest bid is done with you, then we'll put you to the general public for prostitution. And after they are done with you as well, then we take your organs and we sell it to the black market. So ultimately they said, you need to resign to the fact that you're going to die. So you're never going to escape us. And the first thing that went through my mind was like, I just need to make it through, make it out, tell my mom and dad what's happened, and even if I have to die, it's fine. So the death itself didn't scare me, but my parents not knowing what had happened to me really frightened me. That obligation, that I thought if they live throughout their life and I'm gone, they're never going to know what happened to me. And that was something that really drove me to make it through, to fight, to want to escape.
To stay alive.
To stay alive, to make a scene. Every time we stopped somewhere, I made a scene. That's how I escaped them.
Ooh, what an amazing, brave woman. Bless her.
The Illuminati knows the answers, taking bone samples to clone rappers. But the artists in prison to silence their vision, genetic copies going home after. They look different, eyes shifted, smile missing, skin lifted. It's scientific. If they can't control you, they erase the old you. Get your duplication to enforce their message. They clone Gucci, clone Kodak, clone Eminem. He ain't rap since Encore, know that. Cloning rappers when they overdose to keep making money from producing more tracks. If they killed the rappers who were spitting truth, they wouldn't have a messenger to reach the youth. So they duplicate physically, implant abilities, replicate tattoos and cloning facilities. For all of time in all forms, they own all your music, your image, your name, and your person. Weird, right? I know you don't think that is facts, but for 50,000 and a hair sample, you can clone your dog or your dying cat. It's another way for them to win the war by weaponizing important celebrities. Don't kill your foes, just clone their gods. Then you'll control all your enemies.
Her eyes are slanting.
What?
Her nose saddle-shaped. Her teeth poor. These people have been termed Mongolian idiots incorrectly.
Mongolian idiots?
Since most of them are imbeciles.
Golly.
Identical twins such as these occur very rarely. Mongols seldom reach a mental age above 5 years. They respond only moderately well to training, but are usually placid and affectionate in disposition. This 52-year-old Mongolian woman illustrates the fact that, despite generally low vitality and susceptibility to respiratory diseases, they can and do live to an advanced age. The eyes of Mongols have oblique, palpable fissures with an epicanthal fold of skin at the median angle. No treatment has been found to be of great value, and institutional care is frequently required. The majority of those classed as mentally deficient are noteworthy only for their limited intelligence and their social inadequacy, the causes of which may be quite complex. To assure them the protection they often need, and to make possible the maximum development of their limited skills, society must provide special programs of education, training, and, when necessary, lifelong supervision and care.
I honestly appreciate how blunt we used to be.